See this massive muddy ramp with a swimming pool at the bottom that leads us into the basement? We're going to be working down there today. More specifically, we are going to be hooking up a sump pump drain line. We are going to be installing a radon mitigation system. And we are going to be taking all of these plumbing supplies and plumb the entire basement. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 100% restoration and remodel of my great-great-grandfather's $7,000 mansion. All right, so here's the plan of attack for today. First things first, Roman is going to finish digging this little trench right here, and then he is going to be installing a French drain. Once he has that in, then he's gonna take this Y, he's gonna put it right here. French drain's gonna come in on that side, then over this way we have another trench. At the end of the trench, we have our sump pump. The sump pump is not hooked up yet, so we need to cut a hole right here, and then we need to get our pipe attached to it. Once we get our pipe hooked up, we're gonna lay it in the trench, and then we're gonna backfill it. Once we get done with that, we have this big old roll of drainage tile. We need to dig a 4-inch trench all the way around the entire perimeter of the basement. Then we need to throw this inside of it because this is going to be our radon mitigation system. And then last but not least, we are going to try to install the plumbing. And FYI, we are not plumbers. So we definitely have our work cut out for us today, and I have a little change of plan starting off. I actually have some computer work that I need to do, so Roman is going to get started with the French drain. There's one thing that you guys should understand about what it's like working with Roman, and that is that there's a lot of things you should understand about working with Roman, but the big one is he makes you feel bad about your work ethic because while I was upstairs working on the computer, Roman got the French drain, he finished digging it, he laid in fabric, he put in the pipe, he connected up the pipe, he put in the Y, he put in the solid pipe going over to the sump pump pit, and he got everything all covered up, all in the time that I was working on the computer. So he just makes you feel like you're lazy.
Oh, stop the flattery.
And you got a ramp built. I could talk about Romanisms all day, but another one that Roman is extremely good at is if you need a specific tool for a very particular application, Roman will just go over and find random things and he'll just build it, and it works perfect. And he literally builds it in like 3 minutes. Ramp, prime example. Now, before we get started with the next part, I'm going to make some lunch. I just fired up the grill a minute ago, and I came out here and opened it, and I had a flame like this tall, so I might need to do a little bit of cleaning before we can eat. You ready? Take a deep breath. Yeah, burgers. Oh, now that we have our bellies full and we're about on the verge of taking a nap, I think it's time to get started actually installing some of this other plumbing. Now, originally I was planning on installing our radon mitigation system before we get to the actual sewage plumbing, but after doing a little bit of thinking about it, we don't need to mess with anything with grade when it comes to the radon. If we need to dig deep in a spot, we can, because it's just going to be sucking air through that. So getting water to flow, not important, because that's going to be a closed loop that's just connected to a pipe that gets sucked up and outside of the house. But our sewage stuff, grade does matter for that. So I want to get the sewage stuff in first, so that way we can get everything to grade. And then if we need to dig underneath of something for the radon mitigation system, we can. And then we'll also kind of know our layout on what our workarounds are going to be once we have this installed. So I'm just gonna grab these items here. We have all our floor drains and stuff. I'm gonna lay them where I think they need to go. We'll get all of our big pipes laid out as well where I think they need to go, as well as all of our connections and Ys and all that fun stuff. And then we'll be able to evaluate things. Roman will be able to challenge some of the thoughts that I have, and maybe I'll be able to challenge some of the thoughts that Roman has towards things, and then we should be able to come up with our best results on the plumbing thing. And Roman's not a plumber, I'm not a plumber. We've never done this by ourselves, or at least I've never done this by myself, so we got some learning to do. So Roman and I have spent a few minutes laying down how this plumbing is going to go, and okay, if plumbing is not interesting to you, I apologize, and frankly, plumbing is not interesting to me either, but this is something that has to be done, so we're just figuring it out, and we don't want to pay someone $10,000 to come in and do this, so we're just figuring it out ourselves. So please, bear with me, but it's just as boring for me as it is for you. But regardless, we are going to have a drain right here in the center of the room. Try not to break the tile. But this drain, what we're thinking right now, is going to drain over to another drain that we're going to have over here, so we have a Y. We are going to have the boiler system for the house on this wall, and that needs to have a place where the condensation can drip to. So there is going to be a drip spot right here, and then if we have it, let's say a dehumidifier, or we are also going to have an air handler up here. I don't know if that has a condensation point on it or not, but all of those things will be able to drain in right here, and then it will be able to continue over to this corner. Now this corner is going to have a pipe that's going to raise up, and this is where the upstairs plumbing is going to come down into. So the kitchen is right above my head right now. There's an upstairs bathroom above this. All of that will come right here, and we have a clean out. And so if we have a plug or something, we can get in there with the clean out. But then that is going to shoot down this main pipe over here, and this is going to take us into the other room. And then continuing over here, we are short on materials. We need to get some more stuff. They didn't have enough at the store the other day when I was there, so we're gonna have to go back once they restock. But just imagine that we have a 45-degree pipe running over here. There's going to be a toilet and a sink over here, so those are gonna tie into this. And then behind me, we have another floor drain in the middle of the room. And so that will be draining into that. And then on another 45 over to this back corner, we are going to be having all of the septic that is coming from the bathroom that is above this. Same thing as the other corner. We're gonna have a clean out right here as well. Anytime we're dropping down, we have to have a clean out. And there's actually going to be one over here by the opening that leads to the outside, but I forgot to lay down piping for it. But there's a bathroom straight above my head right now. So we're actually gonna have another clean out right here, and we are going to have to figure out how to get all of this tied in together and make sure everything's at the right level. You can't have your pipe too flat in the floor, and you can't have your pipe too steep. You gotta have it just right. So in order for us to make all of our drains and everything work together, Roman and I are going to be doing a little bit of head scratching, and on top of that, we also have to figure out code on stuff to make sure that we're not accidentally sucking one of the drains dry when we flush a toilet or something and water comes through and it makes pressure inside. So we have some figuring out to do. I understand why people hire plumbers to do this, but like I said, I don't want to pay someone $10,000 to do this job, so we're just gonna figure it out. So to start eating the elephant, we are gonna start off with the drain in this room, and everything is going to be moving downhill from here, downhill, 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 and then it's all downhill from here over to there. So we are gonna start with the high point and then just work our way along, and when we run into issues, then we'll figure it out. Now we may have gotten whooped up pretty bad today on the amount of work that we did not get done, but Roman and I now have a game plan figured out. Getting everything laid out on the floor helped a lot. We have discovered we are missing a couple pieces, so I'm going to head to Menards right now. I'm going to pick those things up. I'm also going to pick up a few other tools that I think could be handy to be able to make this job go a lot faster and make us more efficient. So we are going to get those, and then we're gonna get this plumbing thing down. After 1 hour of shopping, I think I found everything that we need, and we're gonna try not to bonk anybody in the head with those. $358 worth of fittings and some pipe later. I think we have everything we need to finish this out. Have you been doing your plumbing research?
All the time.
Wait, are you driving while on your phone right now? That's illegal, Roman.
No, I'm on my phone while driving.
And you know, as much as we may not like taking trips into the store to get supplies, it actually got me thinking quite a bit, and I was able to do some research, and we are going to be making some changes, or at least I think I found some things that are going to point us in a better direction, that are going to give us a better result. Now, plumbing in and of itself is very simple. The stuff comes in one end, it travels through the pipe, and then it leaves the other end, or at least that's what it's supposed to do. So right now, the way we have it set up, we have it on a 1% slope. So for every foot that stuff travels inside the pipe, it drops 1/8 of an inch. I did a little bit more research, and we're gonna steepen that up just a little bit more. So now for every foot we go, it is going to drop 1/4 of an inch.
Hey Cole, I have a question. How do you figure out, like 1% it's 1/8 of an inch, a little more it's 1/4 of an inch?
To be honest, I just looked up a YouTube video from Roger Wakefield. He's a professional plumber. He's done it for like 40 years, and he said that is what it is. So I'm taking his word for it because he's got twice as much experience as I've been alive.
And now we're on the struggle bus.
No, now we're relying on Roger Wakefield's advice. Look at that handlebar mustache right there.
He looks reputable to me.
Yeah, he's definitely a plumber. After a few hours, look what we have done. We have downpipe coming in, so that's gonna catch upstairs sewer coming into that. We got drain line for the boiler, the dehumidifier, anything else. There's actually going to be a wall right here, so these are gonna be hidden behind it. So everything will be nice and conspicuous. But coming down that, we got the 45 in, we got our Y figured out for our floor drain. Everything's coming in there. We are going to have a sink over here. We just gotta get all the fittings to get that hooked up. We are now ready to make our bend and then get over here into the big room. After day number 2 of our plumbing adventure, this is what we've gotten done so far. This is going to be the utility room, and it's pretty much done, other than we need to add in where the sink is going to go, but that's going to be extremely easy right there because everything's all open. But otherwise, we got the main coming in from upstairs, so everything upstairs will drop into that pipe right there. That is going to be the collector for the boiler condensation, the whatchamacallit, the thing that gets the moisture out of the air, the dehumidifier, and then anything else we'll be able to drain into that. And then we have the floor drain, and this is set 1.5 inches below grade, meaning the center is going to be 1.5 inches lower than the outside with the concrete, so it's going to be like a little funnel. So if anything were to leak in the utility room, everything would funnel to that drain, and then it would get taken away underneath and then outside of the house. So that way we don't have to worry about flooding in this room. We did make it over into this room. We got this all set up on grade, and then Roman and I had a little bit of fun building this area here. We have a floor drain sitting right there in the middle. So this one is going to be sitting grade. We're also going to be having another one right over there, and then there's going to be one right here. But these ones are more or less on grade, so that way if a pipe were to burst up above while we're gone or something, then we don't have to worry about coming down to a foot of water in the basement because a pipe burst. It would at least keep the water away, albeit the floor may be damp. But we just want to leave this flat in case down the road we want to do something different with the basement. We don't have a sloped floor, and then we may not be able to do what we want to do because of that. But anyway, when we built the center footer of the house a couple months ago, we knew we were going to be putting in these drains. So we put in these conduit pieces, and it worked out extremely well. We were able to get everything through. The only thing that we messed up on is we have this little bend right here, which this is just going to have water in it. If it ever has anything in it, it's going to be clean water. So everything should flow through nice and easy. That is a double 45. So nice big long bend there. But what we ran into is we just looked up the dimensions on this when we were putting in that conduit, and I guess we didn't quite get the dimensions right. Either that or we changed the height of our concrete floor, but this pipe was just a little bit too high and we would have been extremely steep going out of there, and we would not have been able to get square going into the fitting down there. So we just had to put in this little elbow there, but that is not a big deal whatsoever. Roman did just take off, but I have continued to do some more digging. Roman's definitely the specialty when it comes to actually getting all the technical stuff with this, but I can do the digging. So I'm just getting this rock out of the way. We have another conduit right here that we were planning on using because back there in that back corner, we have a clean out, but there is going to be a main vertical coming in there, and it'll shoot at an angle to here, and then it will be able to pass through here, and then we're going to have another floor drain right there. So it's basically going to look just like the setup that we have over there. But then once we get through here, then everything will branch together. There'll be a floor drain here, so we got to figure out how to make this work. And then where this pipe is, that's where it'll end up shooting out of the house, but it'll be tilted down instead of tilted up like it is right now. And then we are going to have a bathroom over here, so we'll have to get all that plumbed up into this configuration right here. But now I'm running into two little problems where I'm at, which they're really not a big deal at all, and that has to do with this conduit, and it has to do with the concrete in that back corner. Our problem with the concrete over here is that there's a pretty big lip coming up out of this, so if we set a piece of PVC pipe in here, the angle is really steep because we need it to go all the way back to there, so that way we can get it thrown right along the wall and it'll fit up inside of that cavity. But I need to take the jackhammer in here and go about 6 inches wide and maybe 3 or 4 inches deep, so that way I can get a little bit more gradual bleeding into the rock, so that way we can have the pipe at the grade that we are supposed to. And speaking of grade, I think that this conduit, which is a 6-inch PVC pipe, is going to be slightly out of grade. So I'm going to need to chop the top of it off, so that way our 4-inch pipe coming in will not hit the top, because I think it's just barely going to hit. So I'm really glad we put this here. We tried to foresee several months in advance, and if the worst thing I have to do is just chop the top of this off a little bit, I think we did pretty good.
Looks like we got this part established. Now the pipe is all seated. We can glue this one and figure out what we're gonna do with this drain here, because it will have to connect into this pipe.
slight change of plans. I guess there is like a 90-mile-an-hour storm or the potential of that coming through. So I just ran home here. Nave and I are currently sitting out on the front porch storm watching. But when it gets closer, we're gonna go down into the basement. And Roman's gonna be taking off here shortly too. So we are this close to being done. I've been doing a lot of digging today, as you can see by the sweat. So actually the storm coming in with some cool air and a nice breeze, it actually feels kind of good right here. But hopefully we don't get anything from this storm and then we can get back to work in the basement. But I guess for the time being, we're gonna sit here and enjoy this beauty and enjoy the rain and the lightning and the thunder. Well, the good news is we got 0.6 of an inch of rain, and I guess 4 miles over they got 1.2 inches of rain. But check this out, it's 76 degrees. You can see your breath right now. There is a lot of moisture in the air. It's muggy, so perfect night to grill. All right, we survived the night. We survived the grilling. No food poisoning today. We had a little bit of water down here in the hole. Roman got the sump pump all sucked out, so we did not get any water down into the basement, which was a good thing because we were literally working right here, and we have just the final little bit to go. If you're a plumber, you're probably laughing at us by now because this little area here doesn't look like a lot, but believe me when I say it took Roman and I a strong 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure I glued together a total of like 2 fittings, and Roman did absolutely all of the rest. But we got where our toilet's gonna poke out right through here. Roman got this leveled up nicely, so then we'll just put our toilet flange on the top of it, and then we'll be ready to set the toilet up once we get our concrete poured. Over here is gonna be the shower. Now we're gonna leave a little spot open over here because we're not sure the exact layout of how our P-trap drain is going to be. So we wanna make sure that we have ample room for that just in case. So we're leaving a little spot open when we pour our concrete, and then we'll backfill everything back in with concrete once we get our drain in. But now we just have one little spot left. We need to glue some pipes on over here, and then they're gonna go against the wall and then up, and that is gonna be where our sink is going to drain into. And Roman was extremely persistent that he glue them together while I pick up a shovel and start getting to work. So Roman's gonna glue the last of these together right here and get everything built for the sink drain, and then I'm going to take my shovel and I'm gonna take these big piles of rock that we put over here, and I'm going to backfill along all of the floor drains in this room, all of them in that room, and then in the utility room around the corner.
Do you want to do also a little concrete job?
I can't hear you, Roman, I'm sorry! Wow, that's a lot of rock. Whew.
Now, as you can hear, do you want to do a little concrete job?
We have pipe installed, rockets around it, everything is nice and glued in. Besides right there, we'll get to that here in a minute. But look at this, it's all connected together. We're gonna have the shower there. We'll have to do that work later when we get concrete poured. We already talked about that. Toilet, sink, then continuing on. We'll go under here, underneath the cinder blocks. We got as far as we can get right now because we need to do some work on the other side where the new part of the basement is going to be, and everything is going to tie and it's going to need to dive down because that's actually going to be at a lower elevation. So this is about as far over here as we want to go, and then we are also going to have a pipe dropping down somewhere over here that is going to catch the bathroom that is right above the ceiling right here. So we still need to get that done, but that will all tie in here. So that's going to be a project for another day. But otherwise, we got the pipe continued in here, floor drain in there, and then this room is all done. Now we may notice that this room does not have rock around the PVC pipe, and that is because just the elevation, these are only like half buried in the rock. So these will be covered with concrete, but in order for us to be at the right slope, these had to be out of the rock, and then as they get further, see how it gets further and further into the rock, and then it just keeps going downhill, so that way everything flows. Now, I did not fully cover these PVC pipes with rock yet because we're gonna expose the top just like this. And Roman had a really good idea. Initially, when we were laying these pipes in, I was like, you know, Roman, we should like make a diagram on the ceiling or something. So then if in the future there's ever any issues with the plumbing, or you want to drill something into the floor or whatever, you know exactly where the plumbing is because it would be on the ceiling right above it. And then Roman's like, well, hey, better yet, what if we just took a wire and we mounted it right on the top of all of this plumbing, and then we just ran it up to our vertical stack, and it had a little tail right here sticking off of it, and then we could take a locator and you attach it to the wire and it puts a signal through the wire, and then you go along with your little hand beeper thing, goes beep, 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 and it lets you know exactly where the pipes would be underneath of the floor. And I thought that was a genius thing. So we left the tops open so that way we can get a wire mounted up on the top of them, and then once that's in place, then we'll take the rest of this rock and we will backfill everything across, and then it'll basically just look just like this, and you won't even know anything's there. And I also have a second reason why I left everything exposed, and that's so that we can see it. And by we, I don't mean me. I have a neighbor who was a plumber, or he helped a plumber, so he knows what he's doing when it comes to this stuff, and I'm not a plumber, and I really don't know what I'm doing. I just looked up some YouTube videos, and the little bit of work that I did with him, I applied here. So that's kind of how I knew how to do what we were doing, and then plus what Roman knew, it turned into this. So voila. But I'm gonna give him a call, and I want to see if he would be willing to come over and look at everything here just to make sure that everything is okay. Yes, it would be a pain if we had to change things up, but it's going to be even more of a pain if we have concrete over it. It's going to be, I don't even want to go there. So I just want him to come and look at everything and make sure everything is a-okay. From what I discovered for online resources, everything looks good. So if you notice anything that doesn't look right with what they're doing, what we are doing, I would be greatly appreciative of that, so that way we can change it. But otherwise, I'm gonna have him come and look at it, and so he's gonna be our walkthrough inspector. And we do also need to get a piece right here. I just realized that. And I would like to point out this little detail that Roman did that I think is absolutely incredible. We have our floor drains right here, and they have a P-trap inside the bottom of them. So Roman leveled it up going this way, and he leveled it up going this way, and then he measured from the top of this to the bottom of the floor joist, which we want to be 8 feet. And once he got everything level and he got it to the right height, then he poured concrete underneath of it, so that way these can't move. We are going to be doing a lot of work down here in the basement yet, and the likelihood of us bumping into one of these is almost 100%. It's actually above 100%. It's going to happen at some point. Someone's either going to step on the pipe, or someone is going to be able to bonk that. If nobody touches them, we'd be the most careful crew in the history of all time. So having the concrete underneath of there is so smart, because if we bump into these, it's not going to move because the concrete's not going to move, and then we don't have to worry about this getting out of level, and we don't have to worry about it getting out of height. But I will say this, if you're going to put concrete around your drains and copy this idea, make sure you have everything right, because once that concrete's set, if you have to fix something, you're getting a new drain, you're probably not going to be able to break that out without breaking some of the plastic below. So once that concrete's in place, you're not moving this, so if you get it right, I think this is gonna work really well. And then when it comes to this guy, I think this is the last part of pipe that we need to get hooked up. We tried doing a Y into here and I don't know, we were having some issues. We didn't have that concreted in at first, and then we concreted in, let it set, and then we're working on all that, and then came back to it. And I guess we're not quite lining up perfectly straight, so I think Roman was gonna try to make a thing we could slide over like a sleeve, and then we'd be able to get it in there to be able to make it work. But we're gonna have to work on that later. It's off by just a little bit. I'm sure we'll be able to figure something out here. But anyway, it's dark outside now. Roman just went home. I would say Project DIY Plumbing went extremely well. This is all we got for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.